Yep. Hey, guys. We're so glad to be with you this morning. You might be wondering where we've been, but we're so glad we're with you now. We'll tell you later. We're going to sing some great songs about change and using all of our big energy to make a difference in the world. So please join us. 2, 3, and... Here we go. I'm gonna say the words I want to hear, do the deeds I hold so dear, give the love I long to receive, and be the change, be the change I like to see. Do 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 do. Say the words I want to hear, do the deeds I hold so dear, give the love I long to receive, and be the change I like to see. Do 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 do. I like to see. Do 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 do. I like to see. Do 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 do. I like to see. Do 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 do. Here we go. I like to see. Yeah, thank you so much. We've gotten through our technical issues. And we're so glad you're with us. Use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think God was the sun, God is the sun, but God's so much more than the earth or the stars or all of creation. God is creator, all in all, needing us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. and welcome to Columbine Spiritual Center. We're centered in God. We celebrate a world of harmony, peace, and abundance for all. We're so glad that we've got Pete Jacobs and Gay Waterbury with us today. They're going to be providing special music, some wonderful pieces. Why don't you introduce us, Pete?
So first up is the 23rd Psalm. We all know the lyrics to that, but this was a arrangement by jazz singer Bobby McFerrin. You may recognize him. He was the "Don't worry, be happy" guy. But this is the Lord, the 23rd Psalm. He kind of rearranged the words, flipped the gender a little bit, and dedicated it to his mother. So here we go, 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I have all I need. She makes me lie down in green meadows, beside the still waters. She will lead. She restores my soul. She rights my wrongs. She leads me in a path of good things and fills my heart with song. Even though I walk through a dark and dreary land, there is nothing that can shake me. She has said she won't forsake me. I'm in her hand. She sets a table before me in the presence of my foes. She anoints my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness will follow me all the days of my life, and I will live in a house forever, forever and ever. Glory be to a mother and daughter and to the Holy of Holies, as it was in the beginning, is now and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
Guides, beautiful words, beautiful song. And so we light our Christ candle now. Maybe. And I invite you to join me in prayer. By wherever you are, just making sure you're comfortable, Gently close your eyes. Take some deep, cleansing breaths. Breathing in and out. And just feel yourself relaxing, letting go of anything before this moment. As we pray. Sweet loving Spirit, the Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. And those are the words that I keep in mind when things aren't going so well in my life. The Lord is my shepherd. And what do they mean? God, we are so grateful for metaphysical interpretation that the Lord, the highest part of my being, the inner being of me, is my shepherd, is my protector, is my guide. And so, sweet Spirit, we are guided, we are protected, we are looked after, always. We turn within to come to that place of peace, come to that place of freedom and love, knowing that it's not always that way in the outside world, but we can always turn within and know the Lord is my shepherd. We are guided and protected and loved. And we bring those thoughts, that consciousness, to everyone who is challenged by health issues, emotional, economic, spiritual, racial injustice. We hold all our firefighters and people who are on the front lines for the pandemic and for the fires here in Colorado. We hold them in the loving, safe arms of Spirit. We thank you, God, for this awareness that the Lord is my shepherd, and whenever we turn within and come into that consciousness, we know that we shall not want. And so it is. Amen.
Okay, our next song is called Amazing. It was recorded by a San Francisco jazz singer, Sarah Gazarek, and it was written by her longtime accompanist, Alex Wasilev. Beautiful lyrics, beautiful chords, and an amazing song. Here we go.
Sunflower beauty surrounds me against a sky of gray. The nighttime falls down upon me at the closing of this day. Words cannot explain the feeling that my heart speaks of, the choices, the boundaries, when I feel the pain of all these thoughts of mine, the questions, the answers. When will I realize all of life is amazing? Take sunlight to help forget the cold between the spaces of daylight. There lives a frozen soul. Here we go again. This wandering mind won't settle down, if just for a moment. When I think it's done, it starts itself right up again, unending, relentless. When will I realize all of life is amazing? Take it in, let it go. Can't you see it's all amazing? Melt away, let life flow. Just live in, just let it go. Current strong, so am I. Amazing things don't ever die. Will I realize all of life is amazing? Take it in, let it go. Can't you see it's all amazing? When will I realize all of life is amazing? Take it in, slow it down. Can't you see it's all amazing? Melt away, let life flow. Just give in, just let it go. Current strong, so am I. Amazing things don't ever die. Never die.
There was a Hindu saint who was teaching some of his disciples at the bank of a river. And as he was talking, he noticed a family not too far away, and they were all shouting at each other. And so so they were all shouting at each other. And we're having some technical difficulties, perhaps. Should I keep going? Can we get some direction up here? Do I keep going or what?
You're going out.
Oh. Okay, so we apologize for that little mishap. We're learning. So anyway, let's start over. There was an Indian or a Hindu saint teaching his disciples. He saw a family not too far away. He heard them yelling at each other, shouting at each other in anger. I can feel their pain right now. Anyway, he asked his disciples, why do people shout at each other when they're angry? And the disciples, they didn't really know, but they offered some suggestions. Well, they're frustrated. They're just, they're angry. And the saint said, but they're sitting right next to each other. Why do they need to shout? And the disciples didn't have an answer for that. So the Hindu saint said, well, when we're in anger, when we are angry and we are speaking with angry words and shouting at each other, it's because our hearts are distant. Our hearts have separated. Have you ever noticed that? And the angrier you get, the louder you get, because our hearts are farther and farther apart. He said, notice two people who really like each other and how they don't need to speak loudly. They speak softly to each other. Their hearts are close. They don't need to yell in order for the other to hear them. And as two people fall in love, they barely need to whisper. In fact, they could get to a point where all they need is eye contact because their hearts are joined. And so when we're speaking in anger, our hearts are so far apart. We want to be aware of that. We want to be aware because if they get too far apart, it can be really hard to find our way back together. So we've got to be aware of when we're raising our voice and where is our heart with that other person. I share that story because today we're seeing a lot of anger in society, feeling a lot of anger, a lot of angst in the news and things that are going on in our country and around the globe, really. There's a lot of that people are desperate for a change, but they feel helpless. We don't know what to do with all this pent-up emotion. And so it just comes spewing out sometimes. Our hearts are far apart. Back in 1946, a young 12-year-old Arun Gandhi was living in South Africa. And in South Africa at that time, there was a lot of discrimination, a lot of prejudice, a lot of issues around race. And he got bullied a lot. He was an Indian boy. He got beat up by the whites because he wasn't white enough. And he got bullied and beat up by the blacks because he wasn't black. And so as a result, as a young child, this Arun Gandhi got into a lot of fights. And he had a lot of rage just built in him. And so in 1946, when he was 12 years old, his parents and his sister traveled to India. They traveled to meet with Arun Gandhi's grandfather, Mahatma Gandhi. Of course, he knew him as Bapuji. But he went there to stay with his grandfather, his Bapuji, in order to learn how to deal with all this rage that he felt, all this anger that he felt. He stayed there 2 years as his family, his parents and his sister moved on to other parts to visit other family members. So he wrote a book not too long ago, Arun Gandhi, called The Gift of Anger. And we're going to take the next few weeks using this book, referring to this book. It's not all about anger, so don't worry, we're not going to be talking about anger for a few weeks. But the gift of anger is something that Arun Gandhi learned from his Bapuji, his grandfather, Mahatma Gandhi, of course, who we all know as this wonderful, beloved person who liberated India and taught nonviolence. It's interesting when Arun and his family got to the ashram where his grandfather lived, he expected there he expected his grandfather to be living in this big mansion with lots of servants. After all, he was an important man, and he had heard about his grandfather for years in South Africa and all the work that he was doing. When he got there, he saw it was a hut with a mud floor. And his grandfather sat on a mattress in the corner with just a simple cloth. It was quite a different life than Arun had expected when he knew he was going to stay with his grandfather for a couple years. But he learned so much in those 2 years that he came back, when he went back to South Africa, and took up a vow of promoting nonviolence. He didn't want to live that simple lifestyle that his grandfather did, but he all the more did so much to help nonviolence and to help racial discrimination in South Africa and everywhere in America as well, with helping with the civil rights movement. But he learned this from his grandfather. He says in The Gift of Anger, "Use your anger for good. Anger to people is like gasoline to the automobile. It fuels you to move forward and to get to a better place. Without it, we would not be motivated to rise to a challenge. It is an energy that compels us to define what is just and unjust." And that's just what Mahatma Gandhi did, was use that anger to find places that needed change. It motivated him to change. There's an article in the Washington Post a few weeks ago where Raymond Novako is quoted. He says, "We're living in a big, angry incubator." Have you felt that? Have you noticed that? We're in this big, angry incubator right now this summer, in this year of 2020, pandemic and civil unrest. There were three big disasters that have happened on top of each other: the pandemic, the economic fallout, and civil unrest. And all this has brought about an uncertainty for many of us, that we don't know what to do. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't see an end to any of this. And anger is a very reasonable reaction to what's going on here. But anger is usually not a primary emotion, it's a secondary emotion. And there's something underlying anger usually. It could be fear, it could be anxiety, it could be depression, whatever it is. If not used for good, it can harm us. It can harm our bodies, it can harm our minds. It can harm our health, like cardiovascular problems or neurological or endocrine system challenges. And we can certainly harm others who get in our way. It's a warning system, anger is. If you think about the warning indicators in your car dash, they flash on your dashboard red or yellow. They're there to tell you something's not quite right. That's what anger is for us. Something's not quite right. You need to take action. You need to do something about it. So often we just ignore it or put it off. And after a while, it can seem like the smoke that we see now. We can't see the mountains here. We can't see the Flatirons too clearly because of all the smoke. It's like that's all we can see. We want to be careful of that. We don't want it to get to that point. Arun Gandhi says, "Anger narrows your world so that all you can see is the insult of the moment." You see, our theme this year is seeing through a spiritual lens. We want to see clearly. We want to see clearly what's going on. He says we need to treat anger as a warning that something is wrong so that we can do something about it. There's a Taoist parable where a man has a boat and he loves his boat. He takes very good care of his boat, and he just got done painting his boat, and he takes his boat out into the lake, and he's in the middle of the lake, and all of a sudden, bam, another boat runs into him. And he stands up in his boat and he starts shouting at the other boat, "What are you doing? Who do you think you are? What do you mean running into my boat?" And he notices that the boat is empty. You know, if there was somebody in the boat, he would have somebody to blame, somebody to direct his anger towards. But the boat is empty. And so the man realizes the anger is in him. That's something he could work on. That's something that he needs to look at. This anger is inside of us. No one can make us angry. We can imagine people that seem to be obstacles, or circumstances that seem to be obstacles in our lives. They can't make us angry. We control that within us. We're the ones to decide whether we'll become angry or not, and whether we'll even acknowledge it or not. So think of those empty boats as obstacles. They're not in the way, they're just part of the path. Part of what life is handing us right now. And we need to empty our own boats so that we don't become the object of someone else's anger. So empty our boat of the ego, empty our boat of judgment, empty our boat of hatred, empty our boat of looking at people as others, as the other. It's a beautiful parable that just helps us look at how are we going to navigate life. Can we think of those things as empty boats? You know, Jesus said, in this world you will have tribulations. There's no question that we are having tribulations right now. It doesn't mean we have to tribulate. And what is tribulate but causing distress? We don't need to put our anger out on someone else. What happens when we put it out on someone else? Well, when the hearts are divided, there's a lot of shouting and yelling because nobody can hear each other. And it usually comes back on us. There was a Buddhist monk who was teaching, and he had gone to a village and he had lots of followers. And they decided to sit near a tree, and he started talking to his people, and more people from the village were coming. And there was one angry young man who didn't like that all these people had come to his village, because then they would try to sell him something and try to teach him something, and he wasn't really interested. So he started yelling at the Buddha. He started yelling and said, "What are you doing here? You don't belong here. Go home." Well, the Buddha didn't say anything back. He just was quiet, and the man got more angry, and so, of course, the hearts are separate, and he's yelling louder. And he said, "Why aren't you responding to me? Why aren't you yelling back at me?" And the Buddha just said, what happens if you have a precious gift that you want to give someone and they don't accept it? Whose gift is it then? And the young man said, "Well, I guess since I'm the giver and I bought the gift, it would stay with me. It would be my gift." And he said, "Yes, exactly. You are throwing curses at me and angry words at me, and I don't accept them. So who has them now? Where are those curses, and where is that anger?" And the young man was humbled. He learned a great lesson, that anger spewed out comes back to us. It comes back to us with health challenges and mental challenges and a whole host of other things that we don't really want to experience. We can look at life in a different way when we refuse to yell back. We can diffuse the anger. There's lots of lessons in this beautiful little book, The Gift of Anger. About a month ago, I was diagnosed with osteoporosis. And when I first heard those words, I was very angry. The doctor said, "Well, you're doing everything you're supposed to do. You lift weights, you run, you walk, you work out, you take your calcium supplements, you eat well. You know, there's nothing more you can do, but you should take this drug." Well, I was angry. I didn't want to take a drug. And I started looking at, what is this? It's in my spine, this osteoporosis in my spine. What is the spine but our support system? And so I started getting more angry, thinking, I'm never supported. In my humanness, please hear this. I'm never supported. I don't get the support I need. Well, this anger, fortunately, I was reading this book to look within, look deeper. What is this anger really about? And I decided that I learned that I was embarrassed. I viewed my thought of osteoporosis was always a fragile old lady stumped over that couldn't do anything. And I thought that when I heard those words, that word osteoporosis, that my life is over. I really thought that. Does this mean I can't run? Does this mean I can't do anything, can't do the things I like to do? Does this mean I can't ride my new e-bike? It was really, a rough time for me, and I was embarrassed and feeling like I'm way too young to have osteoporosis. I told my husband, Kevin, don't tell anybody. I don't want anybody to know that I have this. I feel old. Well, after looking at it and learning that there's a good percentage, 17 to 20% women my age have it, and that there are other options. And so I took action. I got another opinion. I talked to another doctor who recommended a blood infusion to help build my bones back. I've talked to other people since then who have done that, gone that route, and they're doing great. Their bones have been built back, not just halted the decay. It was a good lesson for me. And the part about the support is we have to ask for it. We can't just expect people to read our minds. We can't just get angry because somebody's not praying for us or somebody's not doing something for us or our spouse isn't putting the dishes in the dishwasher or whatever it is for us. That we have to ask when we want support. Ask and you shall receive. And I realized I hadn't been asking. And so anger taught me something in this situation, that I needed to do something. And as I took action, I gained my power back. I gained my peace back, my hope back. It's such a powerful thing to do when you become aware of your anger and decide to do something with it instead of letting it build. Gandhi did this in India. In India, it was a cottage industry in creating cloth. And at some point, the British decided that they would just have the Indians export the cotton, and they would make the cloth and then sell it back to the Indians at a high price. Most Indian people could not afford the cloth, and they lived in rags. And Gandhi saw this and saw the injustice of it and helped them see that they could get their own spinning wheels, make their own cloth. They took action. They became self-sufficient. It's a beautiful thing when you let anger do something good. Take action. Arun Gandhi says in The Gift of Anger, as we change our own ability to channel anger, we will see changes in the people around us. Nobody wants to be bullied. We would all rather be understood and appreciated. Letting anger motivate us to correct wrongs has great value, but only when our real goal is to seek a solution and not just prove that we are right. It has to be for finding a better answer, a better solution to a problem than trying to prove something. So we need to empty our boats. And we can do that by insulating ourselves from anger. Navako says in this article from the Washington Post that there are 3 things we can do to insulate ourselves from anger: appreciation Appreciate all the good things in your life. Takes your focus off the anger and onto the blessings that you have. Affiliation is working on those relationships that you have in your life, making them stronger, making those bonds tighter, connecting, bringing those hearts together. And then aspiration, doing something from the bigger part of ourselves, doing something for other people. We also need to do self-care, proper nutrition for our bodies and our brains. We need to feed our brain healthy food to combat anger. There was a Ohio State study. I don't know where these people come up with these things, but they discovered that married people who had less glucose in their blood were more likely to stab a voodoo doll that represented their spouse than those who had more glucose in their blood. A lot of anger. So feed your spouse lots of pasta, right? Get more glucose. Have a healthier diet. It can help. We also need to limit our media exposure. That's a really good lesson for me. Take more walks, distract ourselves, look within, acknowledge the anger, and look at what is really going on. You know, the best movements in our history have come about by people who are angry about a certain situation. We can do a lot of good with our anger. And also remember that channeling our anger for good is a lifelong experience. It's a lifelong lesson. Our lives will change. Life happens. Things get thrown at us. And so do those triggers. Those triggers will change too. So we have to be aware. Honest self-observation is what we need. There's a lot going on right now in our world. It's a great time to assess, where is the anger in my life and what am I doing with it? Close the space between the hearts. Eric Butterworth, Unity Minister, used this affirmation for whenever he felt angry. It says, I am poised and centered in the deepest self of me, and nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. I love that. I am poised and centered in the deepest self of me. That's turning the other cheek, as Jesus used to talk about. Turn the other cheek. Look at things from a different angle, a different perspective. Look at it from all perspectives, as Gandhi said. It's so important that we view life from all perspectives. And then there will be peace in my soul. So what has triggered anger in you? And how are you dealing with that anger? How are you using that anger for good? Arun Gandhi says, use your anger wisely. Let it help you find solutions of love and truth. Love and kindness are stronger than anger. And they really are. They're lasting. So empty your boat this week. Speak gently. Bring your hearts together. And take action when you have a warning signal of anger. Turn within and get in tune with God. That's where the peace is, where the love is, where the shepherd is. The Lord is your shepherd. You shall not want. I want to invite us now into a time of meditation. So I invite you to just settle in. Take a few deep breaths. Gently close your eyes wherever you are. And focus on these words from Eric Butterworth. I'm poised and centered in the deeper self of me. I am poised and centered in the deeper self of me. Turn the other cheek to the part of your nature that doesn't get upset, that knows only love, that knows only peace, that sees anger as temporary human emotion that can be used for good. And when you get poised and centered in the deepest self of you, know that nothing can disturb the calm peace of your soul. Nothing can disturb that calm peace of your soul. Hold those words in meditation for a few moments.
I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith, and I am stronger every moment, every day. My mind is willing and my heart is open wide. I trust my instincts and let Spirit be my guide. I vow to live a life that's real and true and free. As I continue walking in this mystery, I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. For every step I take is taken in pure faith, and I am grateful every moment, every day. And I am kinder, and I am kinder every moment, every day, and
Thanks, Pete and Janice. So this is the time in our service where we ask for your support, and we gratefully receive your love offerings, your blessings. We are so blessed to have such a supportive community. So thank you for all you do to support Columbine in our mission of inspiring personal transformation. Let's say our offertory blessing together. God's love has always met and will always meet all my needs. I give freely, I receive abundantly, and I am grateful. Amen. So just a couple of little announcements. If you're watching us new and you have not been on our mailing list and would like to be, we'd love for you to go to our website and sign up for our emails. We would love to have you as part of our community, our virtual community. We do outdoor services at 9 o'clock in the morning for a limited number of people, and you're welcome to join us for that as well. But go to our website, columbineunity.org, and sign up for the emails. You'd get a Thursday email update of things going on here and a Sunday e-bulletin at 8 o'clock in the morning. So we do want to still shout out, and we're looking for Uniteens and YOU kids, that's middle school and high school age kids. And we just want to identify who they are so that we can reach out to them and find out if they'd like to be part of our Uniteens or YOU programs. We'd love to get a more vibrant group going, and if you are have kids that are in middle or high school and would like to reach out to Christopher, he'd love to have a conversation with you. Please email him and let us know who your Uniteens and YOU students are. And the bookstore will be open. It's open on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, selected hours. But we have our fall program book called Radical Forgiveness by Colin Tipping, and that's available in the bookstore. We have probably, I don't know, maybe 100 copies of it or so. So if you want to get your fall program book, that's going to start up September 20th, the fall program. And it's our small group ministry. We'll have signups for our groups by August 30th. So stay tuned and look for that coming, and come on in and get a copy of the book, Radical Forgiveness. And join us for Fellowship after the service. If you want to just chat for a little bit, it starts at 12:15. We have a nice group of people that come on every Sunday and just check in with each other and see how everyone's doing. It's so important to maintain that connection. I think that's it.
That's
so
amazing.
Let's say our peace.
What did we start? 10 minutes late? And we're still coming in under the hour. Wow. We invite you to join us at home. Stand up if you feel like it. Imagine that you're holding hands with your friends and fellow community members, and have a beautiful Sunday. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us.
And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you. Of your being outshines every star. You'll feel part of every mountain, sea, and shore. You can hear from far and near the world you've never heard before. On a clear day, on that clear day.